Ho sat alone in his small apartment. The night was quiet. Rain fell softly outside his window, and the only sound inside was the gentle purring of his old cat. Ho looked at his laptop screen. Numbers and charts filled the display. He was a marine biologist, and his work was simple but meaningful. He studied fish and ocean life. It was not an exciting job, but he liked it. He was 32 years old. He lived alone. His younger sister visited him sometimes. His parents had passed away years ago. Life was ordinary, and Ho had accepted that. He did not expect anything special to happen. He woke up, went to work, came home, fed his cat, and slept. Every day was the same. But this night would change everything. At exactly 11 o'clock, a strange light appeared outside. Ho noticed it first as a reflection on his laptop screen. He turned around and looked through the window. A column of bright silver light was coming down from the sky. It landed in his small backyard garden. Ho stood up slowly. His heart began to beat faster. He thought maybe it was lightning, but there was no thunder. The light was too steady, too perfect. It looked like something from a movie. The cat woke up and hissed. The animal ran under the bed and hid. Ho walked to his back door. His hands were shaking a little. He did not know what he would find. Part of him wanted to call the police. Part of him wanted to hide like his cat. But a bigger part of him was curious. He had always been curious. It was why he became a scientist. He opened the door. The silver light began to fade, and standing in his garden surrounded by crushed flowers and wet grass was a figure. It was tall, very tall, maybe 7 feet or more. The figure had blue skin that seemed to glow softly in the darkness. It had 4 arms, 2 on each side, and wore long robes made of some shiny material. The face was almost human, but the eyes were larger, and they glowed with a soft golden light. Ho could not move. He could not speak. He simply stared. The figure was female. He could tell from her face and the way she held herself. She looked like a queen from some ancient story. She was beautiful in a strange and frightening way. Behind her, high in the sky, Ho could see something huge hiding in the clouds. A ship, an actual spaceship. It was real. Aliens were real, and one was standing in his garden. The alien woman looked at him. Her golden eyes studied his face carefully. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The rain continued to fall around them, but it did not touch her. Some kind of invisible shield kept her dry. Then her expression changed. Her stern face softened. Her lips trembled slightly. And to Ho's complete shock, tears began to fall from her glowing eyes. Actual tears. They looked like liquid gold rolling down her blue cheeks. She spoke. Her voice was soft and filled with emotion, and she spoke in perfect Korean. "I missed you so much, human," she said. "Let us go back." Ho felt his legs become weak. He grabbed the door frame to keep himself standing. His mind was trying to understand what was happening, but it was impossible. Nothing made sense. I think you have the wrong person," he managed to say. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. "I do not know you. I have never seen you before." The alien woman took a step toward him. Her 4 arms reached out, but she stopped herself. She seemed to be holding back a powerful urge to touch him. "You do not remember," she said. It was not a question. It was a sad statement of fact. "I feared this would happen. The rift takes memories, I hoped. I prayed to the old stars that you would remember, but you do not." Ho shook his head. "I really do not understand. What rift? What are you talking about? Who are you?" The alien woman straightened herself. Even filled with emotion, she carried herself with dignity and power. Ho could feel that she was someone important, someone who commanded respect. "I am," she said, "Queen of the Empire, ruler of 17 star systems, and 15 years ago you saved my life. You saved my entire world. You lived among my people for 3 years. You were my closest friend, my advisor, my—" She paused, struggling with the words. "You were everything to me." Ho felt dizzy. He leaned against the door frame harder. This could not be real. He was a simple marine biologist. He studied fish. He had never left Korea except for one trip to Japan when he was young. He had certainly never been to space. He had never met an alien queen. This had to be a dream. "That is impossible," he said. "I have been here my whole life. I grew up in this city. I went to school here. I have memories of my entire life. None of them include you or any aliens." Queen nodded slowly. Her tears had stopped, but her eyes were still full of pain. "The rift erased your memories when it pulled you back to Earth," she explained. "Your mind filled the gaps with false memories. To you, those 3 years never happened. But they did happen, and I have spent 15 years searching every corner of the galaxy to find you again." Ho did not know what to say. Part of him wanted to slam the door and pretend this was not happening. Part of him wanted to wake up from this strange dream. But another part of him, a small quiet voice deep inside, whispered that maybe she was telling the truth. There had always been something missing in his life, a feeling of emptiness he could never explain, a sense that he had forgotten something important. "Why?" he finally asked. "Why would you spend 15 years looking for me? I am nobody. I am just a normal person." Queen smiled for the first time. It was a sad and beautiful smile. "That is exactly what you said when we first met," she replied. "And I told you then what I will tell you now. You are not nobody, Ho. You are the most extraordinary human I have ever known, and I need you. My empire needs you. The galaxy needs you." She held out one of her 4 hands toward him. "Please," she said, "let me show you who you really are." Ho looked at her hand. It was blue and had 5 fingers like a human hand, but the fingers were longer and more elegant. He looked at her eyes. They were filled with hope and fear and desperate longing. He did not take her hand, not yet, but he did not close the door either. "Show me," he said quietly, "show me proof." Queen nodded. "I will show you everything." The rain continued to fall. The spaceship waited above the clouds, and Ho's ordinary life was over forever. Ho invited the alien queen inside his small apartment. He did not know why he did it. Maybe it was the rain. Maybe it was the tears he had seen in her golden eyes. Maybe it was that small voice inside him that wanted to know the truth. Whatever the reason, Queen of the Empire now sat on his old sofa, her tall body looking strange and magnificent in his simple living room. The cat stayed hidden under the bed. Smart cat, Ho thought. He made tea because he did not know what else to do. His hands shook as he poured the hot water. An alien queen was in his home, an alien queen who claimed to know him. The whole situation felt like madness. He brought 2 cups of tea and sat down across from her. She held the cup carefully with one of her 4 hands. She looked at the tea with curiosity, smelled it, and then took a small sip. Her eyes widened slightly. "This is pleasant," she said. "We do not have anything like this on." "It is just green tea," Ho replied. "Very common here." "You gave me tea when we first met too," said softly. "I remember thinking how strange humans were, offering warm drinks to strangers as a sign of peace. My people offer weapons. We show our strength first, but you showed me kindness first. It confused me." Ho set down his cup. "Tell me the story," he said. "Tell me what happened. How did I end up on your world?" Nodded. She set down her tea as well and folded 2 of her hands in her lap, while the other 2 rested on her knees. "15 years ago, by your Earth time, I was not a queen," she began. "I was a princess, the youngest daughter of Emperor. My father was old and sick. My older brothers fought each other for the throne. There was a civil war. Millions of my people died in the fighting." She paused, and her eyes grew distant with memory. "I did not want the throne. I only wanted peace, but my brothers saw me as a threat. They sent assassins to kill me. I ran, I hid. I was alone with no army and no friends. I thought I would die." Ho listened carefully. Despite his doubt, he found himself pulled into her story. "Then one day a strange light appeared near my hiding place," continued. "A rift in space. Such things are rare but not unknown. They connect distant points in the universe for short moments. And through this rift fell a young human, confused, scared, speaking a language no one understood. It was you, Ho. You were only 17 years old. Ho felt a chill run down his spine. When he was 17, he had been a normal high school student. He remembered studying for tests, hanging out with friends, worrying about university exams. But now he wondered if those memories were real. "I did not know what to do with you at first," said. "Humans were just myths to my people, stories of small, soft creatures from a distant planet, but you were real, and you were lost, so I helped you. I taught you our language, I shared my food with you, and in return you helped me." "How could I help you?" Ho asked. "I was just a teenager. I knew nothing about war or politics." Smiled. "That is exactly why you were valuable. You thought differently. When my advisors said something was impossible, you asked why. When tradition said we must fight a certain way, you suggested new ideas. You were creative in ways my people are not. Your human mind saw solutions we could never imagine." She leaned forward, her golden eyes intense. "You helped me gather supporters. You wrote speeches for me that moved the hearts of common people. You stood beside me when everyone else ran away. When an assassin came for me, you threw yourself in front of the blade. You nearly died protecting me." Ho touched his left shoulder without thinking. There was a scar there. He had always thought it came from falling off his bicycle as a child, but now he was not sure. "We won the war," continued. "My brothers were defeated. The people chose me as their queen because of what we had accomplished together. For 3 years you lived in my palace. You were my most trusted advisor, my friend, the person I cared about most in all the universe." Her voice became thick with emotion. "Then one night, another rift opened. It appeared in your room without warning. Before I could reach you, it pulled you through. I heard you scream my name, and then you were gone." She stopped speaking. The apartment was silent except for the rain outside. "I searched for you immediately," said after a moment. "I sent ships across the galaxy. I hired searchers from every race. I studied rift science, hopping to find where you had gone. But rifts are random. They connect to countless points in space and time. Finding one human on one planet among billions of planets seemed impossible." "But you found me," Ho said quietly. "Yes, it took 15 years. My scientists finally tracked the energy signature of the rift that took you. It led here to Earth, to this city, to you." She looked at him with those golden eyes full of longing. "And now I have found you, but you do not remember me, you do not remember anything." Ho stood up and walked to his window. He looked out at the rain and the dark sky. Somewhere up there, her ship waited. Somewhere up there were stars and planets and empires he had apparently visited. "I do not know if I believe you," he said honestly. "This sounds like a story from a book. Things like this do not happen to people like me." "I know it is hard to accept," replied. "That is why I brought proof." Ho turned around. "What kind of proof?" Reached into her robes and pulled out several items. The first was a small device that projected light. She touched it, and suddenly the air above his coffee table filled with moving images. Ho saw himself. A younger version of himself, maybe 18 or 19 years old. He was wearing strange alien clothes. He was smiling and laughing, speaking in a language that sounded like music. Beside him stood, looking younger and less burdened. Behind them was a balcony overlooking a strange city with tall crystal towers. Ships flew through purple skis. "This was recorded 2 weeks before you disappeared," said. "We were celebrating our victory." Ho watched the image of himself. The young man in the recording looked happy. He looked confident. He looked like someone who had found his purpose in life. It was strange to watch himself live a life he could not remember. Showed him more recordings. Him speaking to crowds of aliens. Him studying star maps. Him playing with small alien children who laughed at his funny accent. Him sitting quietly watching a sunset over an alien ocean. Then she pulled out something else, a small book with worn pages. She handed it to him carefully. Your journal, she said. You wrote in it every day. Ho opened the book. The handwriting was definitely his. He recognized it immediately. The pages were filled with notes and sketches, drawings of alien flowers and strange animals, observations about culture, personal thoughts about missing home. He turned to the last page, the final entry. If I ever forget this place, I hope someone reminds me that I was brave once, he read aloud. His voice cracked slightly. He closed the journal and held it against his chest. He did not remember writing those words, but they felt true. They felt like something he would say. For the first time since arrived, Ho felt something shift inside him. Not memories exactly, but emotions. A strange sadness for a life he could not recall. A connection to a past that had been stolen from him. He looked at the alien queen sitting in his living room. She watched him with hope and patience. I still do not remember, he said. I know, she replied. But I believe you. Closed her eyes. A tear rolled down her blue cheek. Thank you, she whispered. Outside, the rain began to slow, and somewhere in Ho's heart, a door that had been locked for 15 years began to open. The night passed slowly. Ho could not sleep. How could anyone sleep after learning their entire life might be a lie? He sat on his bed, holding his old journal, reading entries written by a version of himself he did not know. The handwriting was his. The humor was his. The way he described things, the little jokes he made, the worries he expressed about his mother and sister back on Earth. It was all unmistakably him. But the experiences were completely foreign. He had written about learning to ride alien animals, about eating strange foods that made him sick at first, about making friends with guards who taught him how to fight with curved blades. And he had written about, a lot about. She is stubborn, he had written in one entry, more stubborn than anyone I have ever met, but she cares so deeply about her people. She would die for them without hesitation. I understand now why they call her the hope of. She is not just a princess. She is their future. Another entry said, laughed today, really laughed. I told her a stupid joke about fish, and she did not understand it at all, but she laughed anyway. I think it was the first time she had laughed in months. She has such a beautiful laugh. I wish I could hear it more often. Ho closed the journal. His heart felt heavy with emotions he could not name. He had loved this alien queen. The younger him had clearly loved her. Maybe not romantic love, but something deeper. A bond of trust and friendship forged in war and survival. And he had forgotten all of it. When morning came, Ho found standing in his backyard garden. She was looking at his small vegetable plants with curiosity. The rain had stopped and weak sunlight filtered through the clouds. Her skin looked different in daylight, more blue, more obviously alien. If any of his neighbors looked outside, they would see something impossible. You grow your own food, said without turning around. She had sensed him approaching. You did the same thing you planted an earth garden in the palace courtyard. Everyone thought it was strange, but you said it helped you feel connected to home. Ho walked up beside her. I do not remember that. I know, but I remember everything. She finally looked at him. Her golden eyes studied his face carefully. You look tired. I could not sleep. I spent the night reading my journal. Nodded slowly. And what do you think now? Ho took a deep breath. I think I need more proof, not because I do not believe you, but because I need to understand. I need to feel it, not just know it. What kind of proof do you need? Ho touched his left shoulder again. The scar was hidden under his shirt, but he could feel it with his fingers. It was a line of raised skin, about 4 inches long. You said I got hurt protecting you from an assassin, he said. You said I nearly died. His expression became serious. Yes, it was the worst night of my life. The assassin used a poison blade. Our healers worked for 3 days to save you. When you finally woke up, I was sitting beside your bed. I had not slept or eaten the entire time. You looked at me and said, "Are you okay?" Not "Are you okay?" just "Are you okay?" You almost died and your first thought was about me. She reached into her robes and pulled out a small flat device. She touched it, and a holographic screen appeared in the air. It showed medical records with strange alien symbols. "This is the record of your treatment," she explained. "I brought it because I knew you would need proof." She pointed to a diagram of a human body. It showed a wound on the left shoulder. The blade entered here at an angle. It cut deep into the muscle and nicked a major blood vessel. The scar would be approximately 10 centimeters long, slightly curved, with deeper tissue damage at the lower end. Ho's heart beat faster. Without saying anything, he pulled off his shirt. The morning air was cold on his skin, but he did not care. He turned slightly so could see his shoulder. The scar was exactly as she described, 10 centimeters long, slightly curved, deeper at the lower end. He had looked at this scar hundreds of times in his life. He had always assumed it came from a bicycle accident when he was 12. His memories showed him falling off his bike and landing on broken glass. But those memories were false. The scar was from an assassin's blade on an alien world. Reached out with one of her hands. Her fingers stopped just before touching the scar. "May I?" she asked softly. Ho nodded. Her fingers were cool and gentle as they traced the line of the scar. Her touch was careful, almost reverent. "I visited you every day while you recovered," she said. "I read to you from poetry books. You said my voice helped you sleep. When you were finally strong enough to walk, the first thing you did was go to the window to look at the stars. You said they are still there. As long as the stars are still there, everything will be okay." Ho put his shirt back on. His hands were trembling slightly. The scar had always felt strange to him, different from his other childhood injuries. Now he understood why. "Show me more," he said. Showed him other scars and matched them to medical records. A small scar on his right hand from training with alien weapons. A faint mark on his leg from a fall during a battle. Each scar told a story he could not remember but could no longer deny. She showed him more recordings. Him standing before a crowd of thousands, speaking in the language with passion and fire. Him bowing before the old emperor on his deathbed, receiving thanks for helping end the Civil War. Him dancing awkwardly at a celebration while aliens laughed warmly at his strange human movements. But the recording that affected him most was simple and quiet. It showed him sitting alone on a balcony at night. The alien stars filled the sky above him. He was looking up at them with a sad expression, then appeared and sat beside him. "What are you thinking about?" she asked in the recording. "Home," the younger Ho replied. "I miss my sister, I miss my mom, I miss the ocean." "Do you want to go back?" Younger Ho was quiet for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "Not yet," he said. "Not until your war is won. Not until you are safe. Then I will find a way home, but I will come back to visit, I promise." The recording ended. Ho realized his eyes were wet. He wiped them quickly, embarrassed. "I am sorry," said. "I did not mean to cause you pain." "It is not pain," Ho replied. "It is. I do not know what it is. Grief, maybe, for a life I cannot remember, for a version of myself I will never know again." He looked at the alien queen. She had spent 15 years searching for him. She had crossed galaxies and never given up hope. And now she sat in his small backyard, patiently showing him proof of a past that had been stolen from his mind. "Why did you search so hard?" he asked. "You are a queen, you have an entire empire. Why spend 15 years looking for one human?" Was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "Because when you disappeared, part of me disappeared too. You were my first true friend. You saw me not as a princess or a symbol, but as a person. You made me laugh when I wanted to cry. You gave me courage when I wanted to run. You taught me that strength is not about power or armies. It is about kindness and hope and never giving up." She looked at him with those golden eyes full of emotion. "I am a better queen because of you, Ho. Everything good I have done for my people I learned from watching you. How could I not search for you? How could I ever stop?" Ho did not know what to say. He had never thought of himself as special. He was just a marine biologist who studied fish. But to this alien queen, he was everything. He reached out and took her hand. It was the first time he had touched her. Her skin was smooth and cool, like touching polished stone. "Thank you for finding me," he said. Smiled, that rare, beautiful smile he had seen in the recordings. "Thank you for opening the door," she replied. They stood together in the small garden as the sun rose higher, two beings from different worlds, connected by a past that only one of them could remember. But for the first time, Ho felt like maybe, just maybe, the future was more important than the past. Arrived at her brother's apartment around 9 in the morning. She had tried calling him 5 times, but he had not answered. This was unusual. Ho always answered her calls. She had a key to his place because she worried about him living alone. Today, that worry proved useful. When she opened the door, she expected to find her brother sick or overworked. What she found instead made her scream. A 7-foot-tall blue alien was sitting on her brother's sofa, drinking tea. Grabbed the nearest object, which happened to be an umbrella, and held it like a weapon. She was 30 years old, worked as a nurse, and was not easily frightened. But this was beyond anything she had experienced. "Stay back," she shouted. "What are you? What have you done with my brother?" The alien stood up slowly, her 4 arms raised in a gesture of peace. "Please remain calm. I mean no harm. Your brother is safe. He is in the bathroom." Ho's voice came from down the hall. He rushed out, his hair wet from washing his face. When he saw his sister holding an umbrella like a sword, he quickly moved between her and... "Stop, it is okay. She is a friend." "A friend?" Eyes were wide with disbelief. "Ho, that is an alien, an actual alien, in your apartment, drinking tea from mother's cups." I know it is a lot to take in. Please put down the umbrella and let me explain." It took nearly an hour to tell the whole story. Sat in a chair, still holding the umbrella across her lap, listening with an expression that shifted between shock, disbelief, and concern. Remained quiet, letting Ho explain in his own way. When he finished, was silent for a long time. "So you are saying," she said slowly, "that 15 years ago when you were 17, you disappeared into space, lived on an alien planet for 3 years, helped this queen win a war, and then came back with no memories?" "Yes," Ho said. "And now she wants to take you back." Spoke for the first time in a while. "I am not taking him anywhere against his will. I came to ask, only to ask." Turned to look at the alien queen. Despite her fear, was not the type to back down. She had inherited their mother's fierce, protective nature. "Why do you need him?" she demanded. "You have an empire. You have armies and technology beyond anything on Earth. What can one human do that you cannot do yourself?" Accepted the hostility calmly. She seemed to understand that this was a test. "Your brother is right about you," she said. "He wrote in his journal that you were the bravest person he knew. He said you once scared away bullies twice your size because they were bothering him." Blinked in surprise but kept her guard up. "Answer my question." Nodded. "A new threat has emerged. We call it the Hollow Swarm. It is a machine intelligence, artificial minds that have decided organic life is inefficient and must be eliminated. They have already consumed 3 star systems. Billions of lives lost. My fleets fight them, but we are losing." She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the small, quiet street outside. "My generals are excellent at following tactics that have worked for centuries. My advisors are wise about traditions and history, but the Hollow Swarm does not follow rules. It adapts. It changes. It does the unexpected. We need someone who thinks differently, someone who can see solutions that seem impossible, someone who can inspire hope when all seems lost." She turned back to face. "When I fought my civil war, everyone told me I would lose. The odds were against me in every way, but your brother changed everything. His ideas were strange and confusing at first, but they worked. He taught us to fight in new ways, to communicate in new ways, to believe in ourselves in new ways. He is why I am alive. He is why my empire still stands. Looked at her brother. Ho sat quietly, clearly struggling with everything. But he does not remember any of that, said. He is not the same person who helped you. He is a marine biologist now. He studies fish. He cannot even remember to water his plants sometimes. How can he help you fight a war against machines? It was a good question. Ho had been thinking the same thing. How could he possibly be useful? He was not a warrior or a strategist. He was just an ordinary man. Smiled softly. Because the memories may be gone, but the person is the same. The courage, the creativity, the kindness that made him special, those things are not stored in memories. They are part of who he is. They are in his heart, in his soul. She looked at Ho directly. I watched you for 3 years. I saw who you truly are, and I see the same person sitting in front of me now. You opened your door to a stranger in the middle of the night. You listened to an impossible story with an open mind. You comforted me when I was sad instead of running away in fear. You are still the same Ho. You just do not know it yet. The room was quiet. Outside, normal life continued. Cars drove by. People walked to work. No one knew that a spaceship was hidden above the clouds or that an alien queen was pleading for help in a small apartment. Set down the umbrella. Her expression had changed from hostility to something more complicated. What exactly are you asking him to do? She said quietly. Come back with me to advise my war council. Help us find new strategies against the swarm. I do not know how long it will take. Months, maybe years. But I promise I will bring him home when the war is over, or if he wishes to return sooner, I will not stop him. Turned to her brother. Ho, what do you want? Ho took a deep breath. This was the question he had been asking himself all night. What did he want? Part of him wanted to say no. His life was here. His job, his cat, his sister. He had finally built something stable after their parents died. Why throw that away for a war on a planet he could not remember? But another part of him felt something else. A strange pull. A feeling that maybe this was the purpose he had always been searching for. His life was stable, but was it meaningful? He studied fish because he loved learning about life. But saving an entire civilization from destruction, that was bigger than anything he had ever imagined. And there was, looking at her now, he felt connected to her even without memories. She had searched for 15 years. She had crossed the galaxy for him. No one had ever shown him that kind of devotion. How could he turn his back on her? I do not know what I want, he admitted honestly. But I think I need time, time to think, time to understand. Nodded. I can give you time. My ship will remain hidden. I can stay here for several days if necessary. But I must warn you, the longer I am away, the more my people suffer. The swarm does not wait. Ho stood up and looked at both women. His sister, who had protected him his whole life, and the alien queen, who claimed he had once protected her. 3 days, he said. Give me 3 days to decide. Bowed her head slightly. 3 days I will wait. Stood up as well. She walked over to her brother and hugged him tightly. Whatever you decide, she whispered in his ear, I will support you. But please, please be careful. I cannot lose you. You are all the family I have left. Ho hugged her back. I know. I promise I will not make this decision lightly. He looked over his sister's shoulder at. The alien queen watched them with an expression of longing. She had no family left. Her parents were dead. Her brothers had died in the Civil War. She had only her duty and her empire. And maybe Ho thought that was why she had searched so hard for him. He was not just an advisor to her. He was family. The thought made his decision even harder. The 3 days passed differently than Ho expected. Instead of sitting alone and thinking, he found himself becoming a tour guide. Wanted to see Earth. She wanted to understand the world that had created the human who changed her life. The first day, Ho took her to a park near his apartment. They went early in the morning when few people were around, wore a long coat and a large hat to hide her most obvious alien features. From a distance, she could pass as a very tall woman with unusual skin. Up close, the illusion broke, but they avoided crowds. The park was simple. Green grass, old trees, a small pond with ducks. Nothing compared to the crystal towers and purple skis of, but was fascinated. She watched children play on a playground. They climbed, fell, got up and climbed again. They laughed when they failed. They helped each other without being asked. Why do they do that? Asked. Fall on purpose. They are not falling on purpose, Ho explained. They are learning, trying new things. Failing is part of growing up. Children are trained in structured programs. There is no random play. Every activity has a purpose. Efficiency is valued above all. That sounds sad. Was quiet for a moment. I never thought of it that way before, but watching these children, I think maybe you are right. There is something valuable in play without purpose. They are learning creativity, freedom, joy. She smiled slightly. You said something similar when you first arrived on my world. You were confused why our children were so serious all the time. You started teaching them games from Earth, simple games with balls and running. The adults thought you were wasting time, but the children loved you for it. Ho watched the kids play. He wondered if somewhere in his lost memories, there were children who remembered a human who taught them how to have fun. The second day, Ho brought to his workplace. The Marine Research Center was quiet on weekends. He showed her tanks filled with fish and sea creatures. He explained his research about ocean ecosystems and how different species depended on each other. Studied everything with intense curiosity. She asked questions about the smallest details. Why did that fish have those colors? How did that creature survive without light? What was the purpose of studying animals that lived so far from human cities? Because understanding the ocean helps us understand life itself, Ho explained. Every creature has a role. Every part of the system matters. If one species disappears, it affects everything else. We study them because we care about the balance of our world. Touched the glass of a tank where a small octopus floated. My people have explored thousands of planets, she said. We have discovered countless forms of life, but we study them for resources, for what they can give us. We do not study them simply to understand them. Maybe that is why you needed a human, Ho said. We are curious about everything, even things that seem useless. Turned to look at him. Curiosity, yes, that was what struck me most about you when we met. You asked questions about everything. You wanted to know why I had 4 arms, why our blood was silver, why we built towers instead of spread out cities. At first I thought you were foolish, but then I realized you were collecting knowledge, understanding my world so you could help me save it. She looked back at the octopus. Your curiosity was never useless. It was your greatest weapon. On the evening of the second day, invited them to dinner at her home. Her husband, Park Dong-won, was a calm and practical man who worked as an engineer. He handled the news about aliens with surprising steadiness. I always said the universe was too big for us to be alone, he said, passing a bowl of rice too. I just did not expect proof to show up at dinner. Had cooked a full traditional Korean meal. She was testing, Ho realized, watching how the alien queen handled their food and their customs. Struggled with chopsticks. Her 4 arms made the coordination confusing. After several failed attempts to pick up a piece of meat, she simply used her fingers instead. I apologize, she said. Your tools are not designed for my hands. No need to apologize, Dong-won said kindly. Use whatever works. The food does not care how it gets eaten. The dinner conversation was strange and wonderful. Asked about, what did they eat? How did they live? Did they have families? Did they fall in love? Answered patiently. She described crystal cities that floated on magnetic fields, forests of glowing plants that sang when wind passed through them, animals that could fly through space without ships, a civilization millions of years older than humanity. But she also described problems, rigid social rules, a fear of change, a culture so focused on efficiency that creativity was seen as weakness. She explained how meeting Ho had challenged everything she believed. He refused to follow our rules, she said. When I told him something was forbidden, he asked why. When I told him something was impossible, he tried anyway. He failed many times, but sometimes he succeeded, and his successes changed everything. After dinner, something happened that would stay with Ho forever. They were walking back to his apartment through a quiet street. It was dark and few people were around. Suddenly, an elderly man ahead of them stumbled and fell. He was alone, carrying groceries that scattered across the sidewalk. Before Ho could react, a young woman nearby rushed to help. She lifted the old man gently, asked if he was hurt, and began gathering his scattered vegetables. A teenager joined her, picking up fallen apples. A middle-aged businessman stopped his walk to make sure the man was steady on his feet. None of them knew each other. None of them expected anything in return. They simply helped because someone needed help. Watched in silence, her golden eyes were wide. "Does this happen often?" she asked quietly. "It is not unusual," Ho said. "People help each other when they see someone in trouble. Without being ordered, without expecting payment. Usually, yes, it is just what we do." Was quiet for the rest of the walk. When they reached the apartment, she sat down heavily on the sofa, her expression troubled and thoughtful. "I have ruled an empire for 15 years, she finally said. "I have commanded fleets and armies. I have met leaders from dozens of species across the galaxy, but I have never seen what I saw tonight." Ho sat across from her. "What do you mean?" We help each other because duty demands it, because laws require it, because not helping brings shame, but your people help because," she struggled for words, "because you simply care. There is no calculation, no expectation, just kindness given freely." She looked at Ho with something like wonder in her eyes. "Your species is so small, so fragile. You live such short lives compared to mine. Your technology is primitive. Your planet is tiny, and yet you have something we have never developed in millions of years of evolution. You have instinctive compassion. You care about strangers as if they were family." She leaned forward. "This is why the universe needs humans. This is why I need you, not because you are strong or advanced, but because you are kind, because you show us a different way to exist." Ho did not know what to say. He had never thought of kindness as something special. It was just normal. Everyone did it, or at least they tried to. But he realized that maybe it was not normal everywhere. Maybe in a universe of ancient species and vast empires, simple human kindness was something rare and precious. "I understand now," said softly, "why the younger you was so extraordinary. He was not special because of intelligence or strength. He was special because he had a human heart. He cared when he did not have to. He gave when he could have taken. He hoped when he should have despaired." She reached out and took his hand. "You are still that person. I can see it in everything you do. The way you explain your fish with such passion. The way you protected me from your sister's anger. The way you watched those strangers help the old man with quiet pride." Tears formed in her golden eyes. "I came here to ask for your help, but now I realize I should be asking for something else. I should be asking your world to teach mine how to be human." Ho squeezed her hand. He finally understood. This was not just about winning a war. It was about showing the galaxy that strength came in many forms, and maybe the strongest form of all was simple, ordinary kindness. The third day arrived and Ho woke before sunrise. He had finally made his decision. It had not come in a flash of insight or a dramatic moment. It had grown slowly through the past 3 days, like a plant reaching toward sunlight. He was going to go with, but he was not going to leave Earth unchanged. he found in his garden again. She seemed to like it there, among the simple vegetables and flowers. She turned when she heard him approach, and her eyes searched his face for an answer. "You have decided," she said. It was not a question. "Yes, I will come with you." For a moment's composure broke. Her shoulders sagged with relief, and something like joy passed across her face. But she quickly controlled herself, straightening back to her full height. "Thank you," she said. "You do not know what this means to me, to my people." "Wait," Ho said, raising his hand. "I have conditions." Tilted her head slightly. "Conditions?" "If I am going to help you, I need to do it my way. And my way includes not leaving Earth completely behind." He had spent the night thinking about this, about what he wanted, about what was right, about the people he had seen helping that old man on the street. They did not know that aliens existed. They did not know that their simple act of kindness had moved a queen from another galaxy. They deserved to know they were not alone in the universe. "Earth cannot remain ignorant," Ho said firmly. "My people deserve to know there are other civilizations out there. They deserve to be part of the larger universe." Was quiet for a long moment. Her expression became thoughtful, calculating. "First contact with a new species is not simple," she said carefully. "There are protocols, dangers. Your world could panic. Your governments could react with fear and violence. History has many examples of first contacts gone wrong." "I know," Ho replied. "That is why I am not asking for it to happen today. I am asking for a promise. Within 5 years, the Empire will make peaceful first contact with Earth. You will share knowledge and technology. You will treat my people as equals, not as children to be protected or resources to be used." Studied him with those golden eyes. A small smile appeared on her face. "You are negotiating with me," she said, "just like you used to." "Is it working?" "Better than you know." She folded 2 of her arms and let the others hang at her sides. 5 years is a short time by standards, but it is possible. We would need to prepare carefully. Send cultural observers first. Study your governments and their likely reactions. Build trust slowly. "Can you do that? Can you promise me this will happen?" Nodded slowly. "Yes, I give you my word as Queen of the Empire. Within 5 years, Earth will be welcomed into the galactic community. I will personally oversee the first contact to ensure it happens peacefully." Ho felt a weight lift from his chest. Whatever happened to him out there, at least his world would benefit. Humanity would finally know they were not alone. They would have access to technologies and knowledge beyond anything they had imagined. The future would be brighter for everyone. "Then I accept," he said. "I will come with you." Closed her eyes and took a deep breath. When she opened them again, they were shining with emotion. "You negotiated for your entire world before you negotiated for yourself," she said softly. "You have not changed at all." She reached out and placed one of her hands on his shoulder. "I promise to protect you, Ho of Earth. I promise to bring you home when the war is over. And I promise that whatever memories you have lost, we will make new ones worth keeping." Ho smiled. "That sounds like a good deal." The rest of the day was spent preparing. Ho had to arrange his life. He called his workplace and requested an extended leave of absence, claiming a family emergency. He asked his neighbor to take care of the cat. He packed a small bag with personal items, things that would remind him of home. But the hardest part was saying goodbye to. She came to his apartment in the afternoon. Her eyes were red from crying, but she stood strong. She had always been the strong one in their family. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "No," Ho admitted honestly. "I am not sure about anything, but I think it is the right thing to do, not just for or her empire, for everyone." He told her about the agreement he had made, about the promise of first contact within 5 years. Listened carefully, and slowly her expression changed from sadness to something like pride. "You always were an idealist," she said. "Mom used to say you got it from Dad. He always thought too big too." Is that a bad thing? Shook her head. No, it is what makes you special. She stepped forward and hugged him tightly. I will miss you so much. Please, please be careful. Send messages if you can. Come back as soon as possible. I will, I promise. She pulled back and wiped her eyes. Then she turned to, who had been watching silently from across the room. You, said, pointing at the alien queen. You keep him safe. I do not care if you rule 1,000 planets. If anything happens to my brother, I will find a way to come up there and make you regret it. Smiled. It was a warm, genuine smile that made her alien features almost beautiful. I believe you would, she said. Your brother told me you were fierce. I see now he was correct. Nodded sharply, satisfied with the answer. Then she did something unexpected. She walked over to and handed her a small container. This is kimchi, my mother's recipe. Ho said you like trying our food. This will last a while if you keep it cold. And when you finish it, you have to bring him back so I can make more. Accepted the container with visible surprise. She held it carefully, as if it was something precious. I do not know what to say, she admitted. Gifts are rare in my culture. Usually they are political. This is family, said firmly. You saved my brother once. You searched 15 years for him. That makes you family. Weird, blue, four-armed family, but family. For a moment, the mighty queen of the empire looked completely overwhelmed. Her golden eyes filled with tears that she quickly blinked away. Thank you, she said quietly. I have not had family for a very long time. Nodded. Well, now you do not forget it. Ho watched this exchange with a mixture of amusement and emotion. His sister was amazing. In less than 3 days, she had gone from holding an umbrella like a weapon to adopting an alien queen as family. That was the power of human connection. That was what he hoped to bring to the galaxy. As the sun began to set, it was time to go. Contacted her ship, and a beam of silver light appeared in the backyard. The same light that had started this whole adventure. Ho stood at the edge of the light, his small bag over his shoulder. He looked back at his apartment, at his garden, at his sister standing in the doorway with tears streaming down her face. I will come back, he called to her. I promise. Managed a smile through her tears. You better, and bring her too. She needs to learn more recipes. Ho laughed. It felt strange to laugh at a moment like this, but it also felt right. He was about to leave his planet, fly across the galaxy, and help fight a war against machine monsters. But he was doing it with hope in his heart, not fear. He stepped into the light. The world dissolved into silver brightness. He felt himself rising, leaving Earth behind. For a moment, he felt a flash of something, a distant echo of another time he had traveled between stars. Not a memory exactly, more like a ghost of a feeling. Then the light faded, and he found himself standing on the deck of an alien spaceship. It was vast and beautiful, with flowing curves and surfaces that seemed to shift like water. Crew members stood at various stations, their blue skin and golden eyes marking them as people. They all turned to look at him, and then, to his complete surprise, they bowed, every single one of them, even the tall warriors in their gleaming armor, even the old advisors with their wise faces. They all bowed to a simple human from a small planet. Stood beside him, pride clear on her face. Welcome back, Ho, she said. Welcome to the flagship of the Imperial fleet. Ho looked around at the alien faces, at the strange ship, at the stars visible through the great windows. It is nice to meet everyone, he said awkwardly. I hear we have a war to win. Laughed, that rare, beautiful laugh from the recordings. Yes, she said, we do, and I think the hollow swarm has no idea what is coming for them. The ship began to move. Earth grew smaller in the window, a beautiful blue marble in the blackness of space. Ho watched his home shrink until it was just another point of light among millions. He did not feel sad, he felt ready. The universe was waiting, and humanity was about to make its mark. The flagship broke through Earth's atmosphere and entered the cold silence of space. Ho stood on the observation deck, a massive room with a curved window that showed the stars in all their glory. He had never seen so many stars in his life. On Earth, city lights hid most of them, but here, in the darkness between worlds, they filled everything. Stood beside him. She had changed into her formal robes, beautiful and regal, but her posture was relaxed, almost casual. For the first time since they met, she seemed at peace. "We will jump to hyperspace soon," she explained. "The journey takes about 3 of your Earth days. The hollow swarm has not yet reached our core systems, but they are getting closer. We need to prepare." Ho nodded, but his attention was on the stars. They were beautiful in a way he could not describe. Endless points of light, each one a sun with planets circling it. Somewhere out there were civilizations he could not imagine, wonders he would never have known existed if had not come to his door. "It is a lot to take in," said gently, following his gaze. "The universe is larger than any mind can truly understand." "How did you handle it?" Ho asked, "growing up knowing all this was out there." "I was born knowing. It was normal for me. The young you asked the same question when you first arrived on my world. You stood on a balcony very much like this one and stared at the stars for hours. You said something that I have never forgotten." "What did I say?" Smiled at the memory. "You said there are so many stories up there. Every star is a world with people who love and hate and dream and die. We are so small, but we are part of something so big. How can anyone feel lonely knowing that?" Ho let those words sink in. They sounded like something he would say. Even without memories, his soul was consistent. "I do not remember saying that," he admitted. "I know, but I do. And I have thought about those words many times over the years. They helped me when I felt alone on my throne, when my advisors told me my ideas were too radical, when the weight of ruling seemed too heavy to bear." She turned to face him fully, her golden eyes soft. "You do not need to remember, Ho. The person who said those words and the person standing here now are the same. Memories are just records of experience. But wisdom, kindness, curiosity, those are parts of who you are. They cannot be erased by any rift." A low hum filled the ship as the hyperspace engines began to charge. Outside the window, the stars began to stretch into long lines of light. The jump was starting. "I should warn you," said, "the first hyperspace jump can be disorienting for humans. You may feel dizzy or sick. It will pass quickly." Ho braced himself. The ship vibrated slightly, and then the universe seemed to stretch and fold around them. The stars became rivers of light, flowing in impossible directions. His stomach dropped and his head spun. For a moment he felt like he was falling through infinity. Then it stopped. The rivers of light became stars again, but they were different stars now. New constellations filled the window. They had traveled further in seconds than humanity had ever traveled in its entire history. Ho took a deep breath, that was incredible. Laughed softly. "You said exactly the same thing the first time. Then you asked to do it again immediately. My crew thought you were insane." "Did you do it again?" "Of course, you were very persuasive." Her expression grew fond with memory. "You made everything more exciting, Ho. Before you arrived, my life was duty and tradition and war. You brought wonder back to it. Joy, hope." They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the new stars. Ho thought about everything that had happened in the past few days. He had gone from a lonely marine biologist to a traveler between stars. He had learned he had once saved an empire and earned the devotion of a queen. He had agreed to help fight a war against machines that consumed worlds. It should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt right, like he was finally where he was supposed to be. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Anything." "In my journal, I wrote that I would find a way home and then come back to visit. Did you think I would keep that promise, before the rift took me?" Was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft and vulnerable. I believed you. You never broke a promise in all the time I knew you. When you said you would return, I did not doubt it. After you disappeared, I kept waiting. Every day, I hoped the rift would open again and bring you back. When it did not, I started searching. I refused to believe you were lost forever. She placed one of her hands over her heart. And I was right. You are here now. The promise is kept, even if you do not remember making it. Ho felt something warm spread through his chest. He had spent years feeling like something was missing from his life, a hole he could not fill with work or hobbies or relationships. Now he understood. Part of him had always been waiting to return here, to this ship, to this queen, to this purpose. I still do not remember, he said honestly. I may never remember. Does it matter? Asked. The question hung in the air. Did it matter? His memories were gone. 3 years of his life existed only in journals and recordings. He would never know the feeling of fighting beside in the Civil War. He would never recall the faces of friends he had made. He would never remember the moment he decided to shield her from an assassin's blade. But he was still the person who made those choices. The courage to protect someone at risk of his own life was still in him. The creativity that had helped win a war was still in his mind. The kindness that had moved an alien queen was still in his heart. Memories were not who he was. They were just things that had happened to him. No, he said finally. It does not matter. I will just have to make new memories worth keeping. His eyes filled with emotion. She brought all 4 of her hands together in front of her chest. It was a gesture he had seen in the recordings, one of deep respect and gratitude. Welcome home, Ho of Earth, she said. He smiled at her. Home, I like that, though I should probably learn your language again and figure out how your food works and meet your advisors and understand the hollow swarm. And laughed again, that beautiful sound. You have plenty of time. We will figure it out together like we always did. She gestured for him to follow her. They walked through the great ship, past crew members who bowed respectfully as they passed, explained things as they went, the ship's design, the roles of different crew members, the current state of the war against the swarm. The situation was worse than Ho had imagined. The hollow swarm was not just an enemy, it was a force of nature. Millions of machine minds working as one, consuming planets to build more of themselves. They felt no fear, no doubt, no mercy. They simply expanded, destroying everything organic in their path. My generals have fought them to a standstill, explained. But we cannot defeat them with traditional tactics. They adapt too quickly. They learn from every battle. We need new ideas, unexpected strategies, creative solutions. And that is where I come in, Ho said. That is where you come in. They reached a large room filled with holographic displays showing star maps and battle formations. A group waited there. Some were warriors in armor. Others were older advisors in robes. All of them turned to look at Ho with a mixture of curiosity and hope. Introduced them one by one. General, her military commander. Elder, her chief advisor. Admiral Tess, commander of the fleet. Minister, responsible for supplies and logistics. They all bowed to Ho, which still felt strange. This is Ho of Earth, announced to the room. Many of you remember him from the Civil War. He helped save our empire then. He will help save it again now. The advisors exchanged glances. Some looked hopeful, others looked skeptical. Ho could understand their doubt. He was a small human who could not even remember the great deeds he had supposedly done. Why should they trust him? I know what you are thinking, Ho said, speaking for the first time to the group. His voice was steady despite his nerves. I am not the hero you remember. I do not have the memories or the experience of the Ho you knew, but I am still human. And if there is one thing humans are good at, it is facing impossible situations and finding ways to survive. He looked around the room, meeting each set of golden eyes. The hollow swarm is a machine. It thinks in patterns. It processes information. It makes logical decisions. but logic can be predicted. Patterns can be broken. I may not know your tactics or your technology, but I know how to think differently. And that is what you need right now." The room was silent. Then slowly General nodded. "The young queen chose well," the old general said, "twice now." One by one the others nodded their agreement. The skepticism was not gone, but there was a chance now, a possibility. Touched Ho's arm gently. "Thank you," she said quietly, "just for him." "Do not thank me yet. We have not won anything." "No, but for the first time in years I believe we can." The star map flickered, showing the spreading darkness of the hollow swarm. Ahead lay battles and danger and uncertainty. Behind lay Earth, a tiny blue world full of people who did not know their futures were being fought for among the stars. Ho took a deep breath and stepped toward the map. He studied the positions of enemy forces, the locations of defenses, the paths of destruction the swarm had already carved through the galaxy. Somewhere in his mind, patterns began to form, ideas began to stir. The same creativity that had once saved an empire was waking up again. "Tell me everything," he said. "Start from the beginning. I need to understand the enemy before I can figure out how to beat them." The advisors began to explain. Hours passed. Night came and went on the ship, though Ho barely noticed. He listened. He questioned. He challenged assumptions. He suggested ideas that made the uncomfortable and confused. And slowly something began to take shape. Not a complete plan yet, but the beginning of one. A way of thinking that the hollow swarm had never encountered. A human way. Watched him work with quiet pride. This was why she had searched for 15 years. This was why she had never given up hope. The universe was full of ancient species with vast technologies and powerful weapons. But it had only one species that thought like humans. Only one species with that strange mix of creativity and stubbornness and irrational hope. And now that species was going to war. The hollow swarm had no idea what was coming. Neither did the rest of the galaxy, but they would learn. Humanity had arrived, and it was going to change everything.